Also, I just wanted to add, it seems like the more videos I post right now, the worse they do. Like, each successive video that I've posted the last couple of times has done worse than the one before it. I'd like to think it's not just because my videos suck and aren't interesting. So, like I said, I'd really appreciate it if you left me a like, comment, or subscribe to my channel if you're not already. You know, obviously the more interaction my videos get, the more YouTube will decide that they're worth showing to other people. And if you are one of my subscribers already, thank you. But, make sure you hit the bell thing, because if you don't, I guess YouTube doesn't notify you when I post videos. So, hit the bell thingy, and also, if you wouldn't mind, just go look on my channel and see if there are any videos of mine that you haven't already watched, and, you know, give them a little watch if you feel like it. I feel like sometimes YouTube just doesn't show show you when there's a new video, or it doesn't notify my subscribers even if you have hit the bell notification. I don't know. So yeah, just give a little check and see if there are any videos that you haven't watched already, and if they look interesting enough, it'll be, you know, just something you can watch between this video and the next one coming out. Oh yeah, I wanted to mention that I'm planning on releasing outfit try-on haul type video, like a fall outfits kind of video. It's gonna come out after this one. It's just gonna be like a voiceover. Yeah, so if you're interested in that, keep an eye out for it. So now that all that's out of the way, this is gonna be the case of the Twitter killer. But in Japan, the case is known as the Zama 9 murder case, because it was 9 people who got killed and it was in Zama. So that's the Zama 9人殺害事件 in Japanese. Zama 9人殺害事件. Oh, as a side note, I'm already failing, but I was gonna try and talk a little bit slower for this video, because I feel like I talk kind of fast. Let me know in the comments if you feel like I talk too fast or not. My light just stopped working. Oh well. Okay, so on to the case. Every year in Japan, thousands of people are reported missing, although roughly 70% are found within a week of the report being filed. The National Police Agency tally for 2016, which is the year before this case, was 84,850 people reported missing, though many cases are never reported at all. So that's just a little background, I guess, on how that goes in Japan. So, in late September 2017, the police received a missing persons report from the family of a 23-year-old woman who had posted on Twitter that she was, quote, scared of dying alone, and, quote, looking for someone who will die with me. I guess it's a little late, but this is a trigger warning because this case does involve a lot of mentions of suicide. So, yeah. But anyway, the woman's brother said that she'd been thinking of killing herself since the death of their mother back in June of that year, and that she had disappeared on October 23rd from a group home in Hachioji, which is a suburb of Tokyo, where she was living. I don't know what kind of group home that was, but yeah. The brother had hacked into his sister's Twitter account and found that she'd been exchanging messages with someone who told her, quote, let's die together. And while he was logged into his sister's account, a woman who had messaged with that account before, messaged the brother through the sister's account, offering to help him. So the brother gave the police the Twitter handle, and detectives in the meantime found security camera footage of the missing woman walking with a man at a train station who they thought was the owner of the Twitter account that had messaged her about dying together. And the station was about 600 meters away from his apartment when they looked into him and found out who he was. And that footage was from October 23rd, the day that the sister was reported missing. And just so the police could be sure, the woman who'd messaged messaged the man and asked him to meet her at a train station on October 30th while the police were watching. And once they were sure that it was him, you know, the guy from the footage, I guess, the security camera footage, they followed him back to his house, which is a 2-story, 12-unit apartment building. They followed him home, I mean. So, I don't know if they left and came back or what the deal was with that, but on Tuesday, October 31st, 2017, the police showed up at that same apartment, which was in Sama City, Kanagawa Prefecture, which is 30 miles southwest of Tokyo, just for reference, and knocked on his door. And the guy from the footage, who the chick had lured out basically, answered the door, and the police saw boxes inside. They asked the man if he knew where the missing sister was, and he replied, "In that cooler." So the police went into the apartment, and they found 9 severed heads throughout in the boxes that they'd noticed, one of which was a cooler right outside the front door. Outside of it. Along with the heads, they also found about 240 different body parts, most without skin, which made them hard to identify. The police didn't know whether the missing woman was among those remains, but what they did know for sure was that they'd likely uncovered a new serial killer, and that a good few missing persons reports that had gone cold were about to be hot again. Altogether, there were 9 heads, like I said. 8 were female and 1 was male. Their legs, arms, and heads had been stuffed into 3 coolers and 5 storage boxes, and covered in cat litter to try and mask the smell, which did not work very well, let me tell you that. And the victims were all between the ages of 15 and 26, and 4 of them were teenagers. The media withheld the victims' names for, their privacy and out of respect to the families, but I found a picture in one of the articles that I looked at that showed each of them and their names, so I'm going to include that here in this video. And I'm going to be pronouncing them in the Japanese order, so last name and then first name, and then with san at the end, which is just like Mr. or Miss, just out of respect, I guess. So from left to right in the picture is Suda Akari-san, who is 17 years old, a third-year high school student from Fukushima. Next is Ishihara Momiji-san, who is 15, a first-year high school student from Ora District, Gunma Prefecture. Then is Kubo Natsumi-san, who is 17, and a high school student from Saitama City. Then Sarashina Hinako-san, who is 19, and a second-year college student from Tokorozawa City, Saitama Prefecture. Then Fujima Hitomi-san, who is 26, from Kasukabe City, Saitama Prefecture. Tamura Aiko-san, 23, from Iruoji City, Tokyo. Maruyama Kasumi-san, 25, from Yokohama City. Miura Mizuki-san, 21, from Atsugi City, Kanagawa Prefecture. And finally, Nishinaka Shogo-san, 20 years old, who is also from Atsugi City, Kanagawa. And those last 2 were boyfriend and girlfriend. That'll come up later on. I'm just assuming that they were the couple, because there was one couple that was murdered. Since, they were listed together. They're close in age and they're from the same city, but it might not have been them. It might have been the guy and a different woman, but we're just gonna go with the idea that they were the couple. So the police found in the apartment a saw, ropes, and an awl, apparently used to restrain and cut up the bodies. And so the police arrested the man on the spot for charges of desecrating a corpse, and also they're obviously investigating him on murder charges because what, was he just holding the body parts for a friend? Obviously not. So, as a side note, I just thought this was interesting. In Japan, most murder quiet child who was able to socialize with neighbors. Pretty much all of Japan was riveted as the news disclosed more and more details from the second day of the investigation, reporting that Shiraishi had confessed to finding the victims, who he said were considering suicide, on Twitter. Japan has the third highest suicide rate of the world's richest countries, after South Korea and Hungary, and its government has prioritized suicide prevention, monitoring suicide-related message boards on the internet, and among other things like that. The Japanese murder rate, by contrast, is one of the lowest in the world, making the news media all the more obsessed with the grisly details of the case. Suicide bulletin boards became an issue in Japan years ago, but the proliferation of social networking sites has made it harder to track the discussions and forums of those wishing to kill themselves. TV reporters spent a good part of the day, October 31st, the day he was arrested, and Wednesday, the day after, training their cameras on the building in the city of Sama, showing footage of the suspect covering his face with his hands as the police drove him from Takahiro police station in Hachioji to meet with prosecutors Wednesday morning, which was November 1st, 2017. Part of the reason for that was that the police were officially not saying very much about the case, so a lot of the media outlets were just speculating based on details leaked to press clubs for crime reporters. The initial reports described him as a serial killer who sought people who were thinking of killing themselves and who had expressed their dark thoughts on Twitter. He stalked Twitter and contacted suicidal people, asking them to come to his house so he could watch them commit suicide. He offered to either assist or watch them kill themselves, or promised to do it with them, like in the message he sent to the missing woman whose brother had been looking for her. That "let's die together" message. Quote, "There's no doubt that I tried to hide the body of the person that I killed," Shiraishi told detectives, according to one news source. "I dismembered it in the bathroom, disposing of some body parts in the garbage." Shiraishi told the police that he hadn't gotten rid of the bodies because he was afraid of being caught. And he said that most of the dismembering was done in the bathroom using a saw. He threw away the innards and the flesh in the regular garbage, like I had mentioned, and he either put sand or cat litter over the body parts in the coolers to try and hide the smell, although it didn't work very well, obviously. His apartment was very small, a studio with just a kitchen, general area, and a bit of a loft. So, just imagine living in there with all those body parts, and in the summer too. The Japanese press took to calling that apartment the House of Horrors. It's pretty accurate. So at school, Shiraishi's grades had been far from stellar, but he was an attentive student who, quote, "didn't especially stand out, but was not a gloomy character either," according to a former classmate who was quoted by a newspaper. Shiraishi enjoyed athletics and baseball and was, quote, "a good listener rather than someone who would speak about himself," another school classmate told the paper. One person claiming to be a former schoolmate took to Twitter saying that Shiraishi was, quote, "normal, inconspicuous, and low profile," and that most classmates would not even recognize him when the news of his crimes broke. But the warning signs were there, because one elementary school student told a newspaper that Shiraishi and his friends enjoyed choking each other for fun. Quote, "He once passed out while playing the choking game," the man who didn't wish to be identified told a TV show. One article that I read also said that he choked girls during sex in high school. After graduating from high school in 2009, Shiraishi got a full-time job at a supermarket, but quit just over 2 years later and began to work as a scout for sex parlors in Kabukicho, which is in Shinjuku and which is Tokyo's biggest red light district. His job was to lure young women into working for the clubs there, and he used Twitter to recruit the women that he wanted to force to be prostitutes, basically. He was very active in Kabukicho and was once described as, quote, "an ambitious, dangerous man who is capable of betrayal." The locals in the area warned young women about a creepy scout luring morbid fascination with death and suicide. A woman who said that she was in a relationship with him until the summer of 2016 described him as a gentle character who was never angry with women. He had sent her messages such as, "Let's commit suicide together," and once texted her, "I've killed a hostess who said she wanted to die." But that former girlfriend just dismissed those messages as being jokes. Quote, "When I told him that I wanted to break up, he hugged me and said something like, 'Don't go,'" the woman told a TV network. After Shiraishi's mother divorced his father and left with Shiraishi's younger sister to live closer to a girls' school that she attended in central Tokyo, and I'm not sure what year that was, Shiraishi was reported by neighbors to have a close relationship with his father, who worked at an automotive design workshop. Shiraishi frequently helped out at the workshop and occasionally had dinner and drinks with his father. Things started going downhill, though, around June 2017, when he's reported to have told his father, quote, "I don't know why I'm alive." He developed an obsession with suicide, or got worse anyway, and started those Twitter accounts that I had mentioned, and I'll talk more about those in just a second. So in August of 2017, Shiraishi confessed to his father that he met the love of his life and would urgently like to have his own space. And so his father acted as a guarantor so he could get an apartment in the Sama neighborhood, where he was caught, that rented for about 19,000 yen, which is only $227 a month. On August 22nd, Shiraishi moved into the 13.5 square meter apartment, which Japanese media, like I said, had described as the House of Horrors. While living on his own, Shiraishi built up a small following on Twitter through at least 2 accounts. One that was called "I Want to Die," and another one called "A Professional at Hanging." Under the first account, he pretended to be a forlorn victim seeking company for his misery. Quote, "I want to forget everything," he wrote on August 25th. "I want to disappear." Under the second account, "A Professional at Hanging," it's Kubitsuri Tsuchi in Japanese. He took on the persona of someone who is skilled at helping people die. Quote, "I want to spread my knowledge in hanging," he said. "I really want to become the source of strength for everyone who's in pain. If you're at a dead end, please consult me." He also sought out his victims using the hashtag suicide recruitment on Twitter, preying on young girls who wanted to take their own lives. He told them via direct message, "Let's die together." On October 21st, just 10 days before his arrest, he tweeted, "Bullying is common both at school and at work. If you don't get along with the places you go to almost every day and the people you meet, you will be mentally driven into a corner more and more. I think there are a lot of people in the world who have attempted suicide and are having a tough time, even though it's not in the news. I want to be those people's source of strength." And in Japanese, that's 学校でも職場でもいじめは絶えない。毎日のように普通場所会う人間とうまくいかないと精神的にだんだん追い込まれていく。世の中にはニュースになっていないけど自殺未遂をしてしまって苦しい思いをしてる人がたくさんいると思います。そんな人の力になりたいです。Shiraishi said that he'd searched for women online who expressed suicidal thoughts, met up with them, and then plied them with compliments. To ensure his victims would not back out at the last minute, he'd arranged to meet them at a train station near their houses, then travel together to his apartment. He said he'd then give them alcohol, tranquilizers, and sleeping pills to make them relax before sexually assaulting them. He found his first victim on Twitter and had asked to meet up, but she came with her boyfriend. money and stole about 500,000 yen, which comes out to $4,400 from one of the victims. A quote from him about that is, "If I rape them, then let them go home alive. I'll be caught. So I killed them." My thought process was a little shallow, huh? 500,000 yen is too cheap as a reward for killing one person. I was driven only by sexual desire. During the interrogation, the police told me that sex crimes are like drugs, and that's exactly how it was. In Japanese, that's レイプして生かして返したら捕まってしまう。だから殺した。ちょっと考えが浅かったですね。人を一つ殺す報酬として50万円は安すぎます。性欲だけに走ってしまいましたね。取り調べでは警察に性犯罪は麻薬みたいな状態だと言われましたが、まさしくそうでした。He confessed to killing one person in August, 4 in September, and 4 in October, mostly on the same day that he met them. 8 of the 9 victims were women, mainly in their late teens to early 20s, like I said before. Quote, "It was difficult at first. It took me 3 days to get rid of the first body, but after that I could deal with them within 1 day," Shiraishi told the police. Once he got his victims, whose real names and ages he didn't even know, probably, alone, he would choke them until they passed out before sexually assaulting them and then killing them, like I said before. And the police said that all 8 of the female victims had been sexually assaulted. It was reported that 2 of the bodies showed signs of strangulation, one having a broken neck bones. I don't know if that's like the vertebra or the hyoid bone, which is right here. And that bone is pretty much always broken when it comes to strangulation victims. And another had bleeding patterns typically associated with choking. So whether he strangled all of his victims or not, I guess, is a mystery. But, quote, "There's no doubt that I sliced up the bodies in my bathroom with the intention of destroying evidence," he told the police. The police had recovered 2 kitchen knives, scissors, a saw, binding rope, and a gimlet, all which had traces of blood on them. Shiraishi said, "I disposed of their flesh and internal organs like garbage, but kept their bones out of fear that I would be caught." And he'd even used the neighborhood garbage collection area to dispose of the evidence. Pretty brazen. One neighbor said, in hindsight, that he frequently was going to the garbage chute, like a suspicious amount. One former hostess said on Twitter that she had a lucky escape after her parlor turned down Shiraishi, who had wanted to take her on a date. Quote, "The parlor politely declined it, but if it hadn't, I would have been dead, wouldn't I? I get chills," is what the woman said. So, on to his trial. The prosecutors charged him with 9 counts of murder after 5 months of psychiatric examinations. And I read that he was charged with, rape, kidnapping, robbery, that kind of thing as well. In statements to the court, Shiraishi traced the motivations for his crimes back to a falling out with his father. After the 2 of them had argued, he decided to try making a living by seducing lonely women and convincing them to give him money, but he ended up turning to murder after he began to fear that one of the women he met would demand that he repay the money she had lent him. Imagine that, right? Because he was serving a suspended sentence already, he'd started to be afraid that the woman would take the case to the police, and so he killed her. Quote, "I had a hard time making up my mind to do it, but I had done illegal things on a daily basis as part of my work as a scout and had internalized the idea that it's only a problem if you get caught," he told the court. After the first murder, he said, the rest were easy. In one of his appearances at the court, Shiraishi said that while he felt bad for some of his victims, he didn't really feel guilty at all, not remorseful at all. Quote, "If they hadn't caught me, I would regret nothing." Pretty shameless. Shiraishi later testified that he had at first considered denying his involvement death penalty for Shiraishi, but his lawyers argued that he was guilty of the lesser charge of murder with consent, claiming that his victims had given their permission to be killed. And so, to me, this is a little bit weird, but Japan makes a distinction between homicide in cases where the deceased asked to be killed. In the case of a college professor who strangled to death a student with whom he was having an affair. Really, bro? The court ruled that there was evidence the student had wished to die. The professor was therefore found guilty of murder by contract, which is shokutaku satsujin in Japanese, and given a relatively light sentence of 3.5 years of hard labor. According to the police, Shiraishi had already said that he strangled to death some of the victims for monetary gain, as opposed to just because they wanted to die, I guess. His defense lawyers tried to argue that he had assisted the victim's suicidal wishes, and that was it. But Shiraishi himself did the prosecutor's favor and denied that. He was like, not a single one of my victims consented. On Tuesday, December 15th, 2020, Judge Naokuniyano, who delivered the verdict, called the crimes cunning and cruel, and found the defendant fully responsible for his actions. Quote, none of the 9 victims consented to be killed, including silent consent. The judge is quoted as saying, it is extremely grave that the lives of 9 young people were taken away. The dignity of the victims was trampled on. So, the Tachikawa branch of the Tokyo District Court found Takahiro Shiraishi guilty of killing, dismembering, and storing the bodies of 9 victims in his apartment. That judge went on to say that the crime was extremely heinous and had caused fear and concern in a society where social media had become an indispensable part of everyday life. So at the time of the trial, Shiraishi is 30 years old, having been 27 when he committed the murders. And he claimed that he was not nervous about the verdict as, quote, it was obvious. He's right about that. More than 400 people showed up to watch the verdict, despite the court only having 16 seats available for the public. And as a side note, public support for the death penalty remains high in Japan, which is one of the few developed nations to retain capital punishment. The death penalty is carried out by hanging in Japan, which has more than 100 prisoners on death row. And death row inmates are not told when they will be put to death until the day of their execution. Usually years pass between sentencing and the execution actually being carried out. His lawyers said that they would be appealing to a higher court, but Shiraishi denied wanting to do that at all, and he's accepted the penalty. He said that he didn't plan to appeal the sentence, noting that he told his defense attorney that he wanted the trial to be over as quickly as possible to avoid causing additional hardship for his parents. Oddly considerate. The father of one victim, who had been 25, told the court that he would, quote, never forgive Shiraishi even if he dies, and even now when I see a woman of my daughter's age, I mistake her for my daughter. This pain will never go away. Give her back to me. After the sentencing, the father of another victim, who had been 17, told reporters that the death sentence was appropriate. Quote, I feel like I want to get revenge, but bereaved families can't do anything. I don't know how to vent my anger, he said. The brother of a 25-year-old victim said his heart died when he heard Shiraishi's testimony. Quote, it didn't sound at all like he regretted it. It felt like I was being hurt with a sharp knife over and over again. Shiraishi's case isn't the first involving the killing of suicidal people identified online. Back in 2005, a man lured 3 people he found on a suicide message board in Osaka and murdered them and was given the death sentence. And one newspaper reported one other case of a killer who found his victim on a suicide-related website as well. So Shiraishi is serving his time at the Tachikawa detention house. Like I sort of said before, the killings stunned Japan, and they triggered fresh debate about suicide and how to help those considering it, as well as about websites where suicide is discussed. also prompted a change by Twitter, which amended its rules to state users should not, quote, promote or encourage suicide or self-harm. Twitter's chief executive at the time, Jack Dorsey, called the case extremely sad. And like I said earlier on, Japan has long battled one of the highest suicide rates in the industrialized world. Figures have dropped since preventative measures were introduced more than a decade ago, but there have been signs that rates have been rising again due to the coronavirus pandemic. Just to put it in perspective a little bit, in 2021, Japan reported 16.8 suicides per 100,000 inhabitants. In contrast, the United States annual age-adjusted suicide rate is 13.2 per 100,000 individuals, but the US has a population of 331.9 million people versus Japan's 125.7 million. So, the population of the US is almost 3 times as much as Japan, and yet the suicide rate is a good, 3% less. Shiraishi's mother and sister, this is a little bit of background. His mother and sister left him after Shiraishi graduated from high school due to a divorce. Quote, "We were a family of 4, my father, mother, and younger sister. My mother was very kind and a good cook. I think I was blessed with love from my parents. Speaking of an episode that I can recall now, they corrected my teeth." I don't know if he's referring to like getting braces or what, but stuff like braces is pretty uncommon in Japan from what I know of. You know, a lot of people don't have straight teeth, and it's just not as much of a thing, I guess. But that's just what I've heard, so I could be wrong about that. And sent me to the hospital to surgically correct my eyesight. I could feel their love. My mom's cooking was delicious, and there was no abuse or bullying. I don't know what normal is like with my sister. My sister used to play with me when she was little, but we gradually became estranged. When she hit puberty, I hardly saw her face to face. There was no point of contact, but aren't siblings like that? In Japanese, that's 父と母と妹の4人家族でした。母はとても優しく料理が上手な方でした。親からの愛情という意味では恵まれたと思います。今思い出せるエピソードで言えば、母の矯正をしてくれましたし、視力矯正手術で病院に通わせてくれました。愛情は感じてました。お母さんの料理 about himself. Quote, "When I was in elementary school, junior high school, and high school, I was dark, quiet, and a subdued kind of person. My studies were neither good nor bad. My grade was between 2 and 4. In schools in Japan have a numerical grading system from 5 to 1, with 5 being the highest grade and 1 being the lowest. I was good at math and physical education. I liked animals and had a parakeet. I used to watch a lot of K1 kickboxing programs at the end of the year. I liked Andy Hug. I wanted to join a martial arts club in junior high school, but there weren't any. So I joined the judo club. But I quit after a year. I started working part-time, a home center in Sobudai and a supermarket in Sama, which is now closed. The hourly wage at that time was 850 yen. That'd be like $7. But it was more fun than club activities, like school clubs. At the time, I had a bad relationship with my father and wanted to become independent as soon as possible. I think he means, like at the time before he moved out, not when he was in high school. We fought over tiny things. Things like, hurry up and take a bath, or turn the lights off and go to bed. And the reporter asked him what he would do if he could go outside, if he could leave the jail. And he said, quote, "I want to have sex with a woman. Now I masturbate once a week in the detention center." You really needed to say that. And the reporter said that apparently Shiraishi spends his time in jail doing muscle training, reading, and playing shogi. And so I read another article that was an interview with him that I just thought was interesting. So I'm gonna read it if it ever loads. So it's just like a transcript of the conversation. So, the interviewer: "Good morning. Shiraishi. Good morning. Ohayo gozaimasu. How does it feel the morning after the ruling?" And at this point, Shiraishi smiled. He said, "It's no different than normal." And the interviewer: "In that moment they handed down the sentence, how did you feel?" And at this point, Shiraishi stretched his back with his eyes closed. "Well, to be honest, I wasn't thinking anything. I'd thought I might feel something, but to some strange extent, I didn't sweat and my heart wasn't pounding or anything. I already knew full well what was coming." "You're calm about it." "My feelings haven't changed." "Have you spoken with your lawyers?" "No, they haven't come. I think they'll be here this week, but they'll probably say we should appeal. If they do, I'm going to say I'm withdrawing." "Your thinking of not appealing hasn't changed." "It hasn't. After the ruling, your lawyers said that they would decide what to do after discussions with you." "If I'm consulted, I plan to say I won't appeal." "You're alright not fighting it?" Smiling. "It's the way it is now. I mean, it's not like I don't have any thoughts about it, but it's been about 2 years now since the ban on my receiving visitors was lifted. But there's this thing you call anniversary journalism in your line of business, right? At those times, I get loads of people here. Apart from those landmark dates, almost no one comes to see me. So extending that, the period he can be visited for would be prolonged if he appeals. Seems pointless. So, now I want to meet a normal girl." "What do you mean?" "I want to get married, is what I'm saying. If I do, she could see me even when I go to the Tokyo detention house, which is where the death row inmates are kept. People on death row can also see their families, too." That's the reporter saying that. "Right. I want to look for someone who will marry me while I'm in prison. Several people have come in the last 2 years, but nothing has led to marriage. I get these kinds of fan letters sometimes too, but there aren't many women who would become the kind of person to come and see me here. Also, I've read these letters so closely now that I know which ones are sent as part of a plan by the weekly magazines and other places." And then he laughed. "What are these plans?" "You could say it's like the weekly magazines are trying to reel me in. The letters I get from those kinds of women generally come with paper and an envelope to write back to them with, and a postage stamp." "But you don't send letters back." "Right. If they got published in the weekly magazine, Bunshun, that one specifically, I guess, wouldn't it be embarrassing? Like I'd been used. So if a letter or note by me ever does make it out into the wild, that's the end of that, but I just thought it was interesting. So, finally, I wanted to end this video on a slightly more positive note. I read an interview with a 17-year-old girl, who was 17 at the time anyway, back in 2017, who'd messaged with Shiraishi about having him help her commit suicide, but she ended up not meeting with him, and she'd wanted to commit suicide in the first place because she'd been raped twice, and the police hadn't made any arrests despite listening to her and finding the culprits. I think there wasn't enough evidence or something like that, or they just decided not to prosecute her for whatever reason. This girl had already tried hanging herself a couple of times, but hadn't been successful, and Shiraishi found her on Twitter, not the other way around, because, let's just get stuck together. He found her because of a hashtag she'd put on a post mentioning suicide, and after talking through DMs, then switching to Kakao Talk, she ended up being afraid that if she met with him, he'd just rape her and not help her commit suicide. So she ended up backing out and, not meeting with him. After that, she attempted to commit suicide by running onto some train tracks, but she was caught and hospitalized, and she finally reached a better state of mind at the time of the interview, though she said that she still has auditory hallucinations due to the PTSD from her assaults. She said that she's dyed her hair pink, and she sometimes posts about wanting to commit suicide on Twitter during the episodes of having the auditory hallucinations, but she doesn't truly mean it anymore, and she stopped putting hashtags on those posts. And there was at least one similar case to this after this case. There were those ones that were before, but this one came after. I don't know if you could really call it a copycat, though. In 2019, a 22-year-old college student found a woman on social media who was suicidal, lured her to a hotel, and killed her because she wanted him to. Before that, he'd also planned to help a teenage girl kill herself after contacting her on Twitter. But when he arrived at the spot that they'd agreed on meeting at, with a cord to strangle her, the girl didn't show up, and her social media account had been suspended. So, that's the end of that case. Leave me a comment down below and let me know what you thought about that. Let me know if you've heard of this case before or not, because I thought that it was like a really popular case, but I asked a couple of people that I know who are into true crime and they hadn't heard of it. So, I guess it is a very sensational name, the Twitter killer. And of course it is pretty recent as well, so I don't think I remember hearing about it. Or maybe I did, I don't know. Just like very, very briefly. I'm sure there have been plenty of other videos on this one, so. But yeah, let me know what you think. And yeah, like I said before, don't forget to like, subscribe, leave me a comment, and all that good stuff. I hope you found this video relaxing,